Hey guys, welcome. Let me know when you join in, okay? I missed you guys last night. We're going to have a lot of fun this afternoon. So let me know you can hear me and you can see me and all of those good things. And we'll get started here in just a little bit. We're going to have a special guest this evening. Can everybody hear me or can see me okay? Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Samantha. Thank you guys for joining us. Got my sparkling water ready to go. I'm so thirsty today. Oh, yes, it is afternoon in Alaska. The sun is shining. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Kara. Thanks for joining us. How's everybody's day been? It's Thursday. It's Friday Eve. Does anybody else say that? Am I the only one? Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Well, I hope everybody has enjoyed the convention this week. I know I have. Hey, Emily. The worship and word today and Bonnie's session and just all week it's been really great. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And we have one more day, so it's not over yet. So make sure you join in tomorrow. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, make sure that you are, because Rebecca sends that out every morning and we get the schedule for the day and some other updates. So be sure to get on that newsletter list if you're not already. Hey, Kara. Hey, Katie. Thanks for joining us. It's actually hot in Alaska today, too. Hot for Alaska. So, right, Melissa? It's so good. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys have been enjoying it and got to be a part. It's just been really special. So, I'm going to get started here. I did want to remind you guys about the giveaway as well. So that's still going on. So you can enter on our website for that. You can share things. There's all kinds of ways to get entered. First prize is a full year digital. So there's 3 chances to win, 3 things that you can win: a full unit print or a full unit digital as well. So 3 prizes, guys. So make sure you're getting signed up for that. And we have a special guest this evening. So I'm going to bring Darcy on. She's one of my teammates, and we call her our high school expert. So she's going to be joining us this evening. Hey, Darcy. Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, there you are. I think I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are. We're all good. Well, I'm going to start really quick, Darcy, before you and I jump in, about just some random things, because we want to get to know everybody. So I saw on our little thing that we've done our 6 likes and dislikes, and talks about that you like books. You said books, books, books. So like, you love books, your whole family loves books. Do you have a big collection of books? What's that look like?
Well, there's just me mainly. My daughter really loves books. My oldest son loves books, but I learned so much from
Yeah.
reading, and I know they say that the things that change you the most are the people you meet and the books you read. And so I've kind of made it a mission to just keep reading, and that's how I learned so much. And that's part of the reason why I just absolutely love homeschooling.
Right? Yes. That's awesome. And then I saw that you love music and worship. And then, is your family kind of musical as well?
Yes, we have a family band. We have been kind of out of commission since COVID started, but my oldest son, he left for college a couple of years ago, and that's kind of when everything slowed down. But we used to do a lot of like the county fairs and the farmers markets, a lot of
Okay.
Celtic Americana music. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. Awesome. That's really cool. So what instruments, like what are the different instruments that everybody knows how to play?
Well, I play piano and piano and guitar, and I'm learning viola. And then we have mostly violins, fiddles, mandolins, cellos, some ukulele, and yeah. That's pretty much it. We've done like orchestra this year instead of American music.
Cool.
At
Okay.
Little, and that's been really fun, like movie themes and things like that. So it's been
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat. So I'm not too old to learn mandolin then, because that's on my list.
Nope,
Okay.
never too old. You just
Okay.
need about 10 years to master one. That's all.
Right. Just 10 years. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to give a brief overview for those of you guys that are new to Gather Round, just what Gather Round is, and then Darcy and I are going to jump right in. So, just briefly, Gather Round, we're unit studies. You need a teacher's guide and a student books and a student book, and you can get started. So we have main units, which have 20 lessons. So they would take you anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to get a unit completed. And we have a pre-reader all the way to a high school level and everywhere in between. We do also have a letters and numbers and ready to read program for the younger ones. And then we also have mini units, and that just means they're more targeted and focused. So you're still getting a lot of great content and material, but the student workbooks are just less work than our main units are as far as the pages that they do. We have a wonderful quiz coming out. It may already be on there, I'm not sure, but it's a kind of a how to get started quiz, and we're still tweaking it. We're still working on it. So that's a good one. And then in our shopping guide, there's a really good graphic that says, where do I start? And it just asks you some yes, no questions and kind of shows you where to get started, whether it be with that letters and numbers or ready to read program, or maybe you can just jump right into one of our main units. So that's kind of a brief overview. And but tonight is all about high school. We get this question so much at conventions this season. We had a lot of high school questions, and I was not prepared for how to answer all of those questions. I have an upcoming eighth grader, so we're of course already starting to think about those things too. So I'm going to be learning some of this right along with you guys. So yeah. So Darcy, I know I've talked about what Gather Round is briefly, but I know with high school, maybe there's some other things you might have to add, or what does that look like?
Right. So it covers all of the subjects really well. And the only thing you really need to add is foreign language, which Gather Round doesn't have. Math, of course, which everyone needs to add anyways. But
Yes.
the other thing is just to add in some literature. One of the wonderful things about our Gather Round units is we have a complimentary book list in the units. And so they can start there. They can choose from that book list for their literature, but they can also try to select, just other maybe literature books they loved when they were growing up. Um, there's quite a few resources out there. There's a book called 50 Classics, I think. I wish I had the title for you, but it has a really nice overview of some of your more common American literature, and then you can have like discussion questions about it and stuff. So I would, tap into some other resources to build that literature, but it's fantastic to just add one or two books alongside each unit for a high schooler, and you can get that literature credit covered really, really easily.
Okay. Awesome. And then something else I wanted to just jump right into is I know Gather Round has the student tracker journal.
Yes.
I did use that. I was able to use that in talking to people about high school. That was kind of it was awesome to have that. But I know in there's several things. There's like, you can do a 4-year plan. There's a transcript in there and credits. And so can you talk about some of those things? I guess maybe how does someone make a 4-year plan for their high schooler?
Yeah, so for a 4-year plan, you kind of want to know first of all what your end goal is. Are you wanting to go into the military? Are you
Mm,
what kind of career are you headed towards? If it's a science-based career or like a health in the healthcare
right.
field, you're going to want to have different sciences than say someone who wants to be a paleontologist or someone who is going to be a mechanic.
Right.
So find out what is your career track? Are you going into the military? Um, are you wanting to go to a college? What is your secondary education plan if you have one or not? Um, so you will want to select your main uh, subjects based off of that track. But then the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're looking at your local guidelines. They have each state
Yeah.
province has local guidelines, and a lot of times we forget to look there. So look there first because not every state is the same,
Right.
and it really complicated,
Yeah.
especially to help people come up with a custom plan. But check your local guidelines for graduation requirements, and then you need to plug in those subjects throughout your high school. Um, I think, a general plan for high school would be you'll have 4 credits of English, 4 credits of history, and that usually includes U.S., world,
Mhm.
half a credit of geography, half a credit of economics, and you can do like social studies or whatever, but they usually give that option to you. And then civics is
Okay.
something that you'll need. And then for science, usually it's 3 to 4 credits depending on the state. Some are really specific, like you have to have biology and chemistry and physical
Mhm.
science. Some are not. One thing I would highly encourage people to do is make sure that they do physics. It isn't as encouraged anymore as it used to be, but I think that for real life application, physics would be a science that I wouldn't want to skip over. So I would include that if I
Yeah.
had, to choose between the sciences, at least do some physics.
Okay.
But yeah, and then you have English, math, of course, and some schools or states, they aren't specific about math, and some say you need to get up at least through algebra 2.
Hmm.
So just check and see. Um, if you have to make your own IEP or something like that, you
Mhm.
can sometimes just do math 1, math 2, math 3, and just call it that.
You're right.
And yeah, so your core subjects, English, science, history, math, and then you'll have electives. And some states just want like 5 or 6 electives, and some want more.
Right.
So just say you're graduating with a total of 24 to like 26 credits.
Okay.
So, and I'll just briefly give you like a definition. What is a credit, anyways? It is
Right.
an agreed upon unit of measure that the education system recognizes as a full course of study. So when we say a credit, like 1 credit would be a full course of study, or we also use the Carnegie unit, which is 120 to 180 hours. And I know there's a huge difference in 120 and 180. So
Right.
we're just kind of like trying to get in the middle of that ballpark right
Yeah.
there. And I personally try to aim for more like 140. So with my
Okay.
kids.
Okay.
But a credit is kind of like you are like if you're shopping. I've heard this analogy before. It's like if you're going shopping, you stick your credit in your shopping bag of what you want to graduate with. So I'm going to take a little bit of physical science, and I'm going to take a little bit of English, and I'm going to take a little bit of creative writing. So I really want to do that, or some zoology or whatever. So it's kind of like you're choosing from the selection of courses of study, kind of like you're shopping. And
Right.
so then
I like that.
your yeah, and so your transcript will be kind of like your receipt. Like, this is what I did. This is what I bought. This is what I studied. So,
That's
kind of
awesome. I love that. I've never heard that before.
easy,
Well,
but
I'm real quick. I know we kind of jumped ahead, but we were talking about the 4-year plan. You worked really hard on a quiz that we have available that kind of can help folks, right? Kind of make a plan or get started on a plan. And so it's hopefully one of our moderators can link that. Oh, I think it's in there, Samantha. Thank you so much. It's available on our website, and we've posted it in several of our things already. So yeah, check out that quiz. Darcy worked really hard on putting that together for us, and I think you guys will find it really helpful. So sorry, I just wanted to insert that in, Darcy.
good. And, I know when I was putting it together, it doesn't include all of the options available, right?
Right.
And so even when I was putting it together with your 4 basic science, history, those are the main core ones that
Yeah.
people usually, it would be, that was already 64 plans, 64 different variations that could come
Wow.
up. We can maybe work on that later, but it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, right. I
so,
can only imagine. But
so
it's a good
my
starting place. It's a good jumping off point. It's going to be such a helpful tool. So thank you so much for putting
uh,
it together. That's awesome. Well, so I know we're talking about credits, and and hours and those kinds of things. So how does someone record those credits? How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, since we're a unit study and we don't have like a textbook that we go by for a full course of study,
Right.
basically it's giving the parent the right to develop that course of study. So we base our credit hours off of the time that they spend on each subject. So
Mhm.
it is a little bit more time intensive, but don't let that make you shy away from it. So my main tip is get your kid to be responsible for it. And I have my kids write how long they took on each page, right up on the top of the page,
Yeah.
just jotted pencil. And then every day they transfer that into their tracker journal.
Cool.
And it's an easy, fast way to do it. And I try to be consistent about checking my kids' books every day before they're done. And it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's later than just one day. Maybe it's Fridays on Fridays.
Right. Yes.
Um,
Same.
try to get your kids to be responsible for, just at the end of the day, how long did I take on pages? If I
Yeah.
did any extra book reading or DVD series or a field trip or anything like that, they can put that in their tracker journal. And I don't know, you guys should look online, but I'll show you an example of just this one. It's pretty,
Yes.
it's blank, and you can fill it in however you want. You can be really detailed. And I'll show you my freshman's, this was his way of recording.
Hey, he did it though, right?
Yeah. But there's a place there for you to put your grade, your total time for the week, cumulative grade for the quarter, and then you can add it on this back sheet that has all of your quarterly times. And it's just a really great resource for trying to keep track of stuff. So you have like this page where you have all the different subjects and how long they took for that quarter. But yeah, there is a place here for a 4-year plan. It's not very big. We kind of ran out of time. But I would jot down your ideas, and then you can do something a little bit more detailed. I got this off the internet. It's just it tells me how many credits I need for each subject.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then I just have it all in one spot. I like that too. So
Yeah.
that's not,
And the
just
student
maybe.
tracker journal it's beautiful in print. It's the good gather round quality, but we do also offer it in digital as well, and that's 10% off during our sale. It's an a la carte item, so you can get it in print or digital, and it's beautiful. I'm gonna be ordering it. Like I said, I have an upcoming 8th grader, so I got to start thinking about those things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a place
so
for their
pretty.
passwords and their
Yeah.
important contacts, and this is like gold for people. See, get it in the right spot.
Oh, yeah.
Calculating your
Awesome. Yes. Yes.
there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, And then also it talks about a transcript, right? There's a starting from like for 4 years, there's a transcript area as well, right?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. What was that?
There's a transcript option is in there as well, right? A 4-year transcript.
Yeah.
Ha-
There is a transcript back. So when you are doing your school with your kids and you're calculating your credit and everything, there's 2 different ways that we do it is gather around. I'll just go back to credits for a minute. I was really determined to try to use gather around with my high schooler who was still part of an umbrella school. So he had already done some high school, and I needed to finish off those last few subjects. So my idea was to bundle the units into themes or subject focuses, so that it would create my own plan using, to cover those subjects.
Mhm.
So you can do that. So you would have, you would need about 7 units for a full year if you were going to do that, and split your science and history between those. So like 3 science, 3 history, and 1 elective. That's kind of
Mhm.
how I set the quiz up.
Okay.
Yeah, or you can do 6 full units and 2 mini units. 2 mini units kind of equal about 1 full unit.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, so or you can accumulate your credit. If you are more of an unschooler and you want to just do whatever your kid's interested in and you're not worried about having to have chemistry done in 1 year,
Right.
then you can use just accumulate your credit. You just have to be a good record keeper
Yeah.
and make sure that you are documenting everything.
Right.
But I do want to say, I think people, parents in particular, tend to, they don't even record a lot of things that should be recorded. Like, I think we underestimate some of the things that are truly life skills and learning, like
Right.
hobbies,
Yeah.
natural talent, auto mechanics, working outside with dad, learning how to change the oil, and um, job interviews and things like that. My daughter loves doing graphic design. She hopes that she can work for Rebecca one of these days.
That's
But
awesome.
she spends hours doing art.
Yeah.
So look at what your kid's really interested in. What if they love music and all they want to do is play riffs on their guitar?
Right.
That is still credit worthy time. They have to do their other work, but don't forget to write those things down as credits too.
Such a good reminder. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good reminder. I'm kind of circling back here, but I know a lot of us know this, but some of us that are new to Gather Round may not. We talking about just grading in general. Does Gather Round, do we provide tests in our units, those kinds of things? What does that look like as far as grading goes?
Gather Round does not provide tests like we think of tests. And, Rebecca talks about it like you're just taking in information, you're regurgitating it. It's like a lecture or book reading, and then you are tested on how much you remember. That's not really how it's set up. And it's really not the best way to learn or to demonstrate your understanding of anything.
Right.
So it's really exciting that Gather Round has other options for understanding how much this kid knows,
Yeah.
quantifying their learning. So it's really more based off of oral narrations or
Mhm.
presentations. Each unit has a project that the kids work on accumulating over that unit.
Right.
So, grading them on their presentation, there's lots and lots of written work in these student books. So if you are showing your scope and sequence and you're showing your books to an umbrella school, they will be surprised at how much your student is actually doing. They're just, because basically what they need to see is something written to
Right.
grade it. Well, there's plenty of written work in these student books. So if you really want to do the traditional method and grade their pages that way, there's lots to grade that's
Right.
in writing. But Gather Round really focuses more on project-based, discussion-based, oral narration, other ways of assessing how they know and how they apply their knowledge. And
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like it's just a wealth of different ways. So it's really freeing to not be stuck in one method of assessing their understanding,
Yes.
and it's really really great. But one of the things about grading, especially for high schoolers, and I would probably even start this for upper elementary, is to start off by giving them like a rubric. You can either use one that is available. I think I made one, and there's other people have made one available in the files, or make your own. What are your expectations for your kids on these student pages? Do you expect neat handwriting? Are you maybe you're working on starting your sentences with capital letters? Or maybe you feel like they're missing the information and you want them to highlight the instructions.
Mm.
Whatever it is that you want them to do, put in a rubric and then show them what the expectations are and have the students start by grading themselves off of it and seeing if they feel like they've met those expectations well or if
Right.
they haven't. And then you can go and look at it. I like to look at my kids' books and use a post-it note and jot down some things, and I stick it on there and I have them come back to it, and I allow them to make all the corrections they want to. Um, and really, we should have kids that are doing A quality work. There's
Yeah.
really not any good excuse for them to not do a quality work unless they have some kind of disability or something, and you're well aware of that and you have a lowered expectation of that.
Right.
But it's part of their character training, have
Yeah.
them start assessing themselves, have them be able to take some critical feedback, and
Hmm.
then praise for the things they did well.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a better way overall of
Yeah.
grading their work.
I'm learning with you guys. I like what Ashley said. I like the idea of them grading themselves first. I've never even thought about that. So
Yeah,
I'm learning
yeah,
with you, Ashley. That's a really great idea because mine are I have two at upper elementary and then my eighth grader right now. So that's really good advice, Darcy. Thank you.
yeah. It's just good to get them thinking, and you can always ask them, like, what else maybe could you do on this to make it better.
Right, right.
But one thing my friend says, Dorinda Wilson, she's a wealth of information, but she says, don't expect what you don't inspect. And I
Right.
learned that the hard way by not checking my kids' work, by, waiting for a few days. And then it's like, I just was like, oh, it's just so disappointing. They're not getting it. But if I took the time to it really doesn't take long just to
Yeah.
sit down and go through it and be like, okay, let's work on this a little bit more. And,
Right.
sometimes with those younger kids, you need to do it like one on one. But with the high schoolers, I'm trying to get them, wean them off of me.
Right.
Okay, I want you to go back and check what I, wrote,
Yeah.
and then show me when you're done.
Right.
But
So
it's important to inspect it. It's
yeah,
important to look for it.
definitely, definitely. So you tell me how many kids you have, Darcy?
I have 12.
12 kids. And how
Yeah.
many have you are graduated?
I have 3 graduated. We just
Okay.
graduated our third born.
Okay.
And yep, our oldest is married just as of December,
Okay.
and he did 2 years of college. He's working full time in the healthcare industry, and he wants to be a doctor. So
Awesome.
being married, getting some experience, and then he's going to go back to school. Our second born and our third born are both well, third born's going to college, but our second born is doing mechanical engineering. Third born's going to college this fall for electrical engineering.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to circle back to that, but I just thought that was
Okay.
important to note. We're going to come back to it, but yeah, you've got so much wisdom here.
Okay.
Um, you guys, I want you to, if you have any questions, start thinking about them. Carrie, Carrie said, "Hey, my Carrie Knupp sister. Hi, Carrie." Yeah, you guys start putting some questions in there because I want to be sure we're getting anything. If you have any questions about what we've already talked about, or maybe something we haven't brought up, we'll do our best to look through those in just a bit and try to answer some of your questions. So yeah, you guys take a look and see what you think, and just type them right there in the comments, and I'll bring them up. Something else that we didn't hit on, we get this question all the time, Darcy, is Gather Round accredited?
Right. And it's so funny that it comes up because there's a lot of misinformation about what accreditation is. And actually, no curriculum can be accredited. Only institutions can be accredited. And it is actually kind of like a club in a way where
Mhm.
it's an accreditation group, bureaucrats, if you want to call it that, and mostly government run. And you have to actually apply to ask them to review you to see if you could join their club and be accredited, because it seems like people think that if it has the gold medal on the side or the stamp of so and so that it makes it better. But it really it's not something we really want anything to do with.
Mhm.
um, Homeschool cannot be accredited.
Right.
Public schools often are not accredited. Many public schools are not accredited. So it is not a good way of understanding the quality of the
Mhm.
education you're receiving.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, we get that one a lot. That was a great way to put it. I think this is a good question. I'm gonna throw this one up on the screen so you can see it, Darcy. Hopefully you can see it. What issues, if any, did you experience in the colleges accepting the transcripts and admissions for your college attenders?
We didn't have any issues actually, and it might be partly because we have our kids at a Christian college that are kind of used to having homeschoolers.
Mhm.
But I have to say, the way that colleges are accepting students is a lot different than when I was going to school. Now colleges are basing their acceptance off of SAT scores, ACT scores, CLT scores, and not so much off of whether or not they went to a certain school or whatever. They do need to see an official transcript. So you, as a parent, legally are able to give them a transcript, your student a transcript and a high school diploma. You have the right as their parent, as their educator, to give a parent-administered transcript and diploma. You can use a resource if you are really concerned about it looking at professional. You can
Mhm.
use a resource like HSLDA. This is my son's transcript. And I know you can't really see it, but this is from HSLDA. It's very official looking. You can even have it watermarked. You can even have it mailed. Some colleges still want it like
Yeah.
sealed in an envelope,
Right.
and mailed.
That
Um,
official. Yeah.
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 So HSLDA is a really good way to do it. Home Life Academy, I think, also does transcripts that way. But we didn't really have any issues. We just had to make sure that they had their testing done, their college prep testing,
Right.
um, and they're available all over the place. If you are remote or whatever, you could do the CLT test, which is more of a classic learning test. Um, all of those, if they have good scores on those, you probably won't have any problem getting your kid into school. One thing though, when we're talking about transcripts, is make sure that it looks it reflects what your student has done.
Mm.
Homeschoolers are generally uh, very accepted because they have so many different types of subjects on their transcripts. Like my son has, he doesn't just have one science or one history. He has some chemistry, some physics, some economics, World War II history, political science, you know,
Yeah.
politics, things like that. So, you know, those are really attractive
Yeah.
to a college because they know this kid has got a wealth of information and experience.
Yeah.
Um, and you can put their volunteer and community service stuff and awards they've won and all that on their transcript, and that really kind of makes them shine bright.
Yeah.
So I would say it would be hard to find a college that would not accept your student's transcript unless they failed to meet your state requirements or something like that.
Right. Right. Thank you for that, Darcy. That's a really good explanation. Emily asked us, how much prep time would you say is needed either on a daily or weekly basis for one unit study?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are worried about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did the math, and you need to be working on school, and that can include more than just gather round, but gather round plus the book you're reading alongside your unit, gather round including reading from the teacher's guide, all the student pages, extension activities, rabbit trails, watching the resource videos, um, doing your elective at co-op or whatever. You need to be spending about 4 to 4.5 hours of study a day to technically meet your credit requirements. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, my kid's never going to spend 4 hours a day in their student books. Yeah, well, that's not just the student books.
Right.
And some days they're going to spend more time, and other days they're going to spend less time.
Yeah.
And I think, just if you just try to aim for like 4 hours of schoolwork,
Right.
and sometimes we take an hour with our teacher's guide, so that's a big chunk right there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just draws out and you have way more time. So don't stress about it so much, but you need to spend, 4 hours a day for schoolwork. Gather around may be a part of that time.
Yeah.
And then you have the 20 lessons for each unit. So it ends up being about 144 hours per subject, which is more than a credit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're fine.
Yeah.
We have more than enough material and content in the units for that. I
Right.
would say if your student is really not spending enough time and you're like, I don't think they did anything, then maybe you do need to have a closer look. And, it would be a disservice to them to let them just kind of fly by the seat of their pants and not actually do the work. But
Right.
that's with anything, right? It's
Right.
with anything. It's the character training. It's
Yeah.
the heart of your team. You want them to learn and you want the best for them. And so, you know, there's a lot of other things, parenting involved with that.
Right. Right alongside it. Yes. Exactly. All right. I'm going to take a couple more questions here. Let's see. We have Shelly says, how necessary are having course descriptions for the credits earned in high school?
Oh, good question. Usually you don't have to show a course description. It wouldn't be a bad idea to just make them up on your own. Um, I did that, and I didn't do it this year, but I did do it before. And I think in the student tracker journal there's a place, maybe it's just there's a place where you can actually put in any additional subject resources
Oh,
that
nice.
you use for each subject, and that would be a good place to just jot down. So I'm going to do these units for Gather Round. I'm going to use chemistry with Amanda, YouTube videos or whatever to support chemistry.
Yeah.
And we are going to go do chemistry labs with our friends every Friday.
Right.
So, you could write a course description. I don't know if every state requires it, so I would check, but I don't think it's required for most colleges or anything like that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I thought this is just a comment from Jennifer, but I thought this was great. She said, my daughter's SAT score was so low. She's a horrible test taker. Me too. But she was accepted at the college she wanted on a provisional basis that her grades there were good, which they were. So don't let those tests scare you. I think that's a great reminder, Jennifer.
Yeah.
And I think colleges, from what I have a sister-in-law that works at a university, and it does seem like it's changing. Like you said earlier, it's changing from when I was, applying to college and that kind of thing, of how they're looking at things. And it's really neat. You're talking about the transcript, just how the variety that homeschoolers get because of all the things we're learning, and we can learn because of the flexibility and then the different things. So thank you for that comment, Jennifer. That's encouraging to hear. One thing that we talked about and I want to loop back to was just how do you homeschool a large family? How has preparing, for high school, getting all these things ready, how does that played into your family dynamic? Is it taking a lot of your time? I know, as far as you're talking about your high schoolers recording a lot of their own stuff, but prepping before that, was that taking up a lot of your time? And then just how is it homeschooling a large family?
Well, as far as prepping for my high schoolers, I I really don't know how I could figure out how much time I spent on it, honestly, because it's just like I love learning all the time, and so I'm like constantly teaching myself and
Yeah.
researching, and working for Gather Round has been amazing because it's like exactly what I love doing. So yeah, I'm constantly planning, but with Gather Around, it's so open and go. I just have to have a basic idea of I know that this is going to be enough content for this subject,
Right.
and then I don't really worry about it. And my high schoolers come alongside of us while we're doing our school in the morning. Um, I try to all gather together, high schoolers, younger kids. My baby's 14 months, so we have the whole spread.
Yeah.
And we all get together. We sit. We tried sitting in the living room, and that didn't work so well. So we're sitting at the table, and we rigged up a monitor next to our table so that we can cast our teacher's guide on the screen. And
Yes.
then my high schoolers take turns reading the teacher's guide in sections.
Awesome.
And yeah, so everybody does a recitation together, which is super fun because we make it a challenge to memorize it by the time we're done.
Yeah.
And everyone's challenging each other. Okay, come on, you haven't memorized yet,
Yeah.
And then we take turns reading, and yes, there's lots of interruptions, and yes, I do take advantage of educational videos for my 3-year-old during that time,
Yes.
Play-Doh or something. And we all love doing the resource videos together and reading it together. And um, one thing I did originally was my middle schooler was kind of like a typical middle school boy, where he's just like not interested, not into it. So I made him in charge of the computer and scrolling the teacher's guide on the computer, and getting it ready for everyone. And so I was trying to give him some responsibility
Yeah.
and putting it out there. And then sometimes I'll like assign a specific part of the lesson to him. Like we are doing entrepreneurship, so he was doing all of the edgy ethics parts. That was his part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
So we do all that together at the table, all the ages, and then we break up. My little kids stay at the table with me, and my big kids all go to a table nearby that has a computer. They have their own laptop or a family laptop that they use. And one of the things that we do in our home is make sure the screens are all facing into the room so that there's no problems with screens. We're
Yes.
pretty protective with our devices in our home, which we have 10 boys out of
Yeah.
12 kids.
Yeah.
And not
Great
that
tip.
girls are subjected to it, subject
Right.
to it too, but boys are so visual, and they're
Yeah.
more likely to want to do the games and stuff like that when you're not looking.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The high schoolers really do their student books on their own. I don't really have anything to do with it,
Yeah.
except for check work.
Right. Right. And what would you say? Do you have what are your top 3 units, Darcy, or yours or your kids or both? What are some that stand out to you
Oh,
on the,
we love
on the
North
spot?
American birds. We love North American birds.
Yeah.
But you know what? We really are loving entrepreneurship.
Very cool.
Um,
That's one of our year 3 units. So just
yes,
released this year. Yeah.
and it's a great one to do over the summer if you're looking for a summer unit, because lemonade stands and bake sales, and the kids can really spend the time developing a business. So
Yes.
that would be a great one to do over the summer if you want to squeeze in an elective or something. Yeah,
Very cool. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we love the continent studies too, all of them.
Yeah. We still
The
have a
food
full.
is so great.
Yeah. I have a few more on my list for this next year, but what we've done so far, we've really enjoyed the continent studies. So
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. You guys are popping some more questions in here. Stacy says, "What is the best way to track hours and do all the high school record keeping?" So, Stacy, you might have joined us late. I'm not sure, but we're talking about the student tracker journal that Gather Round offers. Is a great place to start. It has all kinds of, like Darcy called it, I think gold. It's gold in the back. It tells you the how-tos, how to do the GPA and all that good stuff. So it's part of our 10% off a la carte sale this week. So the student tracker, that's what we've been talking about. So hopefully you can maybe rewatch a little bit of this and see some of that. But and I think Jessica's linked it there for us as well. And we've got pictures on the product, some product images as well. So make sure to check that out. Let's see. This was a good one. Kara says, "What types of extracurricular hours and activities have you counted towards credits?"
Okay, so definitely graphic design, auto mechanics, um, uh, let's see, entrepreneurship, psychology, we've used for electives. Um, Other extracurricular activity that I don't know, we haven't done a whole lot of other things besides music.
Right.
We do a lot of music and arts.
Yeah.
Um, my kids are really into cars, so I think that will be more in the future. As my kids get older, we'll do a lot more with cars. My older son was really into political podcasts, Daily Wire, things like that, and he just would listen to it all day long. So I did I did call that political science
Yeah.
for some credit for him, because he spent hours and hours and hours, and we would have discussions every night at dinner, and he was getting it. He was
Wow.
understanding, and it's I try to encourage them, don't just look at one stream of information, look for other things to counter it too.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about having your teen at home is to be able to have those discussions. Gather around so great at those discussions, and comparing it to the other curriculum that I've used in the past, we never had that.
Yeah.
And here our entire family at dinner can be talking about the same thing together. And the little kids are hearing the teen boy talking with their dad about it. And it's just, it's just absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
And it's just something that I would hate to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the discussions that it's brought is tremendous. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Anything, Darcy, that you see in your notes that we didn't talk about that you wanted to hit on? We talked about credits and transcript and how to make a 4-year plan. We talked about the quiz that you work so hard on. It's in the comments there. We'll try to maybe post it one more time. And you touched on, my student wants to go to college. Will gather around be enough college prep? You kind of touched on that a little bit. I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about that. Um,
Sure. I could say something a little bit more about that.
okay.
So just remember, we're raising adults. We're not just raising these little cookie cutter kids, and hoping that if we do it right, that they can get accepted to a college, which will guarantee their success and happiness in life. I think we all know that that's really not what we want, and college isn't always the end goal.
Yeah.
Um, our culture wants to have some way of saying, look, my kid did this, or when your kid graduates from college or from high school, you don't want to be like, my kid has no idea what he's doing. You want to have like something to say. Um, so it's really easy to get caught in that trap, but just remember that the goal of teaching our kids is to help them to learn. And Rebecca touched on this already, but help them to learn, help them to think, teach them how to think, how to find out information, teach them how to communicate what they understand, um, or to apply a skill. You do need to have the skills of reading, and you need to have the skills of writing. Those
Mm,
are really important, and some level of math, depending on what career you go into, but usually some math because you want them to be able to go shopping and make a good decision.
yep.
But really what you're aiming for as an adult. And I think, like, if I was going to ask you, Carrie, what kind of an employee would you want to hire, you would probably not be like, well, I want to make sure that they got A's in all of their English classes.
Right.
You're not going to ask what their grade was.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
going to say, are they teachable? Are they hardworking? Are
Yeah.
they able to manage their time? Like, that's a big deal. Time
Yeah.
management is a big deal. Um, are they flexible? Are they resourceful? These are the kind of things that employers are looking for. And
Right.
so we do not lose sight of the goal. It's really easy to get all wrapped up in, my kid's going to go to college, or
Yeah.
he's going to have a successful career, but really we want them to be capable adults. I'm
Yeah.
still learning. You're still learning.
Yep.
I mean, I've had 12 kids and lost a few brain cells along the way, but I'm still learning. And I think, Rebecca's challenged me a lot. I'm trying to grow in my writing skills, and
Mm,
you're never too old to do that. But
yes.
yes, your kids need some structure.
Yeah.
Definitely, they need structure. And there's times to be intense in that structuring time, but you need to allow them to have some unstructured time too, to be
Yeah.
able to develop some of their own skills and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just remember what true college prep is. It's not necessarily getting A's and everything, because later after they graduate, no one's going to ask you, well, were you straight A student? That
Right.
doesn't really matter if you're not a hard worker or aren't resourceful or not respectful.
Yeah.
Show up on time. But and also remember, there's lots of other options besides college.
Yes.
There's an amazing place we've just heard about called Apprentice University. Um, they it's a 2-year course. It's like they apprentice these kids into a lot of these different areas of careers that, like, tech careers and graphic design and things like that, and you graduate debt free. Um, they are
That's
apprenticed,
awesome.
paid, they're paid while they're getting their certificate.
Very cool.
Um, Trade school, my husband's an electrician. He
Mm.
didn't go to college. He earns an amazing wage. Um, he's a hard worker. He's
Yeah,
part owner. So maybe your kid isn't a college bound student, and you're making yourself feel like I failed because he's not. But you shouldn't do that because you don't know, God has something amazing planned for that kid,
amen.
and you're a part of that journey for them. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't lose sight of the goal. It's college, you know.
Yeah, such a good reminder. Thank you, Darcy. You're gonna make me cry over here. Thank you so much. I needed to hear that. I like what Kaya said too. She said employers also look for team players, a great skill learned through family style schooling. Right? That's
That
awesome.
I know. I mean, I told my son, he's the one that just graduated. He just
Mhm.
got a job recently, and I was like helping him with his resume, and I said, if you put that you're the third of 12 kids, they'll be like, I'll hire you.
Right? So we got you. Yes, exactly. Awesome. Well, does anybody have any shopping questions? If you have any shopping questions, go ahead and post those. I'm going to run through some of our deals just real quickly this week. Tomorrow's the last day of our sale, so be sure to get what you want. So many options. We have our digital year bundles are 20% off. Year 3 is partway out, so that's a pre-order, and year 4 is a pre-order. We have print year bundles that are available. The print quality that you get with Gather Round is just phenomenal. If you get 3 students or more with the print year bundle, you get digital for free too, which is really a great deal. And then we have 10% a la carte as well going on. So anything you want to try a couple of units, you want to add that student tracker that we were talking about, you can get 10% off your order. And then we're offering our US history bundle 1 through 6. So 1 through 4 is out, 1 through 5 is coming super soon, and 6 will be out by this next fall. So you get that whole bundle. You can get it digital or print. I'm personally excited about that one. And then another thing we're offering for this sale is the letters and numbers everything bundle and the ready to read everything bundle, which means you can get it. You can get print, digital, and the expansion packs, which is a super good deal. So be sure to check all of those deals out. Like I said, you have till tomorrow. You could still enter our giveaway. Lots of options going on, lots of things going. Yep, individual print items are 10% off. Thank you, Jessica. I believe the giveaway winners will be announced, Elizabeth, tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure, but they will be announced. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow or not, but stay tuned. So yeah, Amanda, I know, right? It's been a busy week. She said she's had VBS all week. It's VBS season, right? So you still have time to get your order in. Um, Jennifer, we're so excited that you discovered Gather Round at a Teach Them Diligently conference. That's awesome. We had so much fun at conventions. It was so awesome to meet a lot of you guys and answer your questions. Kara has a question. Let's see here if I can bring it up on the screen. And this is to you, Darcy. Can you see that okay?
It's tiny.
I know. I have 8 children, so I own digital year 1 and 2, and I bought year 3 at convention. I'm wondering if I should go ahead and buy year 4 to give my 15-year-old high schooler more options as we've kind of follow her interest a little more with her only having a few more years at home with us.
You could. It's really up to you. I mean, the year 4 units are going to be pretty amazing, and
Yeah.
you're gonna get those world history units that are coming. Well, I think there's Renaissance, right? It's
Yes.
coming. The other one that would be excellent for high schooler would be the energy unit, which will be our first physics unit, which I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to buy the whole year, that's totally up to you. But I do think that there's going to be a pretty good lineup for high schoolers in the
Yeah.
year 4.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
this one maybe you and I both can answer, but first time here, is there a math program? We don't have a math program. Who knows, maybe one day. But Gather Round is every subject but math. So you can really just do Gather Round and add in your math, and that's all you need. I need help, and I'm a little confused with levels. We have 6 kids, 10 and under. How does this work? Do you want to tackle that, Darcy?
Yeah, so 10 and under, you're probably going to want to do like upper elementary, um, and then the ones below that. So you could get the family bundle. That is an excellent value for a large family. The great thing about it, if you do digital, is that you can cycle back. And when your kids are a little older, 4 years down the road, you can do those units again with your kids and just do it at a higher level, which I was going to mention earlier.
Yeah.
When people are doing these units with a high schooler and they put a 4-year plan together, remember you're doing it with your whole family. So you're not just having your high schooler over here and the rest of you guys are doing something else. No, you're all doing it together, and it's something that you will cycle through. And the great thing is we got lots of units to choose from. So if you did not like doing one of those units, then when you come back around, you can replace it with something else that's similar and still going to give you that subject credit. And it's
Yes.
not weird. It's not weird to have a freshman and a senior both doing physics at the same time. It's okay.
Yeah.
We have to just, whew, let go of those traditional expectations, and yeah, you can adapt it. You can get harder for your senior, or you can have less expectations for your younger student. Um, One of my goals here in the next few days is to get a high school resource page where I'm going to start putting some of our recommendations for any additional supplements or resources or links or videos or something that will help you, high school parents, if you need a little bit extra for something, and then we'll hopefully be able to open it up to the community to be able to recommend some things too. But yeah, so your whole family can do this together,
Yes.
and yeah, don't get locked into that. But
Yeah.
I
And I
did
would
want
go ahead. You go ahead.
okay, I did want to just say, I feel like this theme keeps coming up with Rebecca's talks, and God is so good. His spirit is around and in all of us, and he can speak to us all in the same at the same time about the same things. And I just have this sense that right now we are going into such a different time in history, and I think we just need to remember that God knows. He has put us parents here at this time in history for a reason, and that was no mistake, and that He's given you your children for a purpose.
Amen.
Your children are one of the most amazing gifts because they are eternal. They're going to do things you will never be able to do in your life.
Mm.
They'll go beyond you. And so if we keep that kingdom mind, that focus, I think that He's just really telling us and our family this year the two things we need to do is be faithful. We
Mm.
need to be faithful to disciple our children. We need to be faithful to go back to our core values of why we are teaching our teens at home instead of sending them to the local community college or putting them under a government school that is the boss and not us.
Right.
Why are we doing these things? We need to be faithful, and we also need to be preparing them because we don't know what's around the corner. But
Yeah.
God has He's gifted these children to us, and we need to be good stewards of what He's given us. So, I think about that all the time with a large family. What the world is going to be like in 20 years, it's really easy to get afraid.
It
But
is.
I think just remembering God created us first and foremost to worship Him. That's what we were really made for.
Yeah.
When people are talking about what are you going to do with your life, the first thing we need to remember is that we are going to worship God. And then just as parents, that we have been gifted these children to disciple and train for His kingdom.
Yeah.
And so love those teens
Yes.
and come around them, support them, and help them to be the adults that God is going to use in a mighty way
Yeah.
beyond you.
Yeah. Amen. I love what Katie said. She said, this week has definitely reminded me of the why. I've had so many misgivings in the past months and I feel so encouraged. It was the right timing, right, Katie? It's just, those are all good reminders. Thank you so much, Darcy. Thanks for talking all things high school with us today. You really are the expert. So I was like, caught myself like writing down things too, like, oh, I need to, so thank you so much for taking time to share with us. And you're continuing to work on more resources.
Yeah.
So guys, we're going to have more for you. We're really excited about it. One thing I did want to mention really quick before we wrap up, because our time's coming to an end here, but we have samples on our website. So if you're new and you're not sure what this even looks like, check out our samples. We have a week sample. You can look at the teacher's guide. You can look at anywhere from a pre-reader to a high school level and just see what all those different levels look like. So take a look, download those. We have artist, North American Birds, one day sample of entrepreneurship with Darcy, which Darcy mentioned about her family really liking that unit as well. So Samantha's linked them there for us. Darcy, would you mind just closing us in prayer before we close it out this evening?
I'd love to. Yes.
Awesome.
Father, we thank you so much for your hand on our lives and our hearts. And it's no mistake that each one here tonight and listening in later on replays, that it's no mistake that they are here. Lord, we just thank you for your sovereignty over all things in our lives. We thank you for our children that you've given us. We thank you for our teens. We thank you for the things that they're learning as they grow into adults. And Lord, I pray that you would just come alongside us, that you would place your hand on each one of us as parents, that we would raise our kids to be kingdom minded, that they would have a heart for you, and Lord, that you would call them by name, that they would be your children, that they would walk in your ways, that they would learn and grow. And as they're doing their schoolwork, Lord, that they would remember that this is to help them to grow and develop, to be even better and more able and more equipped for every good work that you have for them in their lives. I pray that you would give peace to the parents that are concerned about how to just make all this work. Pray that you would help them have understanding, that they would not be so worried about it, but that they would just remember to love their children, to have peaceful homes, and Lord, that you would just help them to have the courage and the boldness to come alongside anything that is between them and their teens, that you would just break open those bonds, that you would draw their teens to the parents and the parents to the teens, and that you would help them to walk in unity as a family towards the higher goal, Lord, of worshiping you fully, and to remember you are good and your grace covers all of us, Lord. Thank you for this night, and I pray that you would just bless each one as they go their way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yes. Amen. Thank you, Darcy. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good night, guys.